The county is ramping up enforcement of public health orders as ICU capacity disappears. Coming up, what those breaking the rules could face besides fines. Plus, we go in depth, taking a look at the new COVID-19 vaccine SUPERSTATIon at Petco Park. And we have the latest on a missing mom in Chula Vista, the search today at a park near her home.
ABC 10 News starts now with breaking news.
My vote to impeach our sitting president is not a fear-based decision. I am not choosing a side, I'm choosing truth. It's the only way to defeat fear.
That was one of 10 House Republicans breaking ranks today to make President Trump the first U.S. president to be impeached twice. Good afternoon. I'm Kimberly Hunt. In the last few hours, a majority of the House voted to impeach, charging the president with incitement of insurrection. As Nadia Romero reports, thousands of National Guard troops are now in the Capitol to stop any potential violence.
Thousands of armed troops keep guard both outside and inside the Capitol, all to protect lawmakers on a historic day, the second impeachment of President Donald Trump.
We are debating this historic measure at an actual crime scene, and we wouldn't be here if it weren't for the President of the United States.
Exactly 1 week after the deadly siege on the Capitol, a bipartisan majority in the House impeached President Trump on one count, inciting an insurrection.
The President of the United States incited this insurrection, this armed rebellion against our common country.
I cannot think of a more petty, vindictive, and gratuitous act than to impeach an already defeated president a week before he is to leave office.
President Trump denied responsibility for the riot.
Statement from the president. I urge that there must be no violence, no lawbreaking, no vandalism of any kind. This is not what I stand for.
Unlike President Trump's first impeachment in 2019, this time a handful of Republicans voted with Democrats to impeach.
With a heavy heart and clear resolve, I will vote yes on these articles of impeachment.
Yet most House Republicans argue that impeachment will ultimately do more harm than good.
A vote to impeach will further fan the flames of partisan division.
Although the House has the power to impeach, it's the Senate that holds a trial and can ultimately remove Trump from the presidency and potentially bar him from ever seeking office again. In Washington, I'm Nadia Romero.
So what happens next? The Senate is not scheduled to hold a regular session until the day before President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration. And Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he will not convene an emergency session, so the earliest the Senate trial could begin is January 19th. A two-thirds majority in the Senate would be needed to convict the president. About an hour ago, the president released a video message disavowing last week's violence that erupted at the Capitol. Here is the video in its entirety, unedited.
My fellow Americans, I want to speak to you tonight about the troubling events of the past week. As I have said, the incursion of the U.S. Capitol struck at the very heart of our republic. It angered and appalled millions of Americans across the political spectrum. I want to be very clear. I unequivocally condemn the violence that we saw last week. Violence and vandalism have absolutely no place in our country and no place in our movement. Making America great again has always been about defending the rule of law, supporting the men and women of law enforcement, and upholding our nation's most sacred traditions and values. Mob violence goes against everything I believe in and everything our movement stands for. No true supporter of mine could ever endorse political violence. No true supporter of mine could ever disrespect law enforcement or our great American flag. No true supporter of mine could ever threaten or harass their fellow Americans. If you do any of these things, you are not supporting our movement. You are attacking it, and you are attacking our country. We cannot tolerate it. Tragically, over the course of the past year, made so difficult because of COVID-19, we have seen political violence spiral out of control. We have seen too many riots, too many mobs, too many acts of intimidation and destruction. It must stop. Whether you are on the right or on the left, a Democrat or a Republican, there is never a justification for violence. No excuses, no exceptions. America is a nation of laws. Those who engaged in the attacks last week will be brought to justice. Now I am asking everyone who has ever believed in our agenda to be thinking of ways to ease tensions, calm tempers, and help to promote peace in our country. There has been reporting that additional demonstrations are being planned in the coming days, both here in Washington and across the country. I have been briefed by the U.S. Secret Service on the potential threats. Every American deserves to have their voice heard in a respectful and peaceful way. That is your First Amendment right. But I cannot emphasize that there must be no violence, no law-breaking, and no vandalism of any kind. Everyone must follow our laws and obey the instructions of law enforcement. I have directed federal agencies to use all necessary resources to maintain order. In Washington, D.C., we are bringing in thousands of National Guard members to secure the city and ensure that a transition can occur safely and without incident. Like all of you, I was shocked and deeply saddened by the calamity at the Capitol last week. I want to thank the hundreds of millions of incredible American citizens who have responded to this moment with calm, moderation, and grace. We will get through this challenge just like we always do. I also want to say a few words about the unprecedented assault on free speech we have seen in recent days. These are tense and difficult times. The efforts to censor, cancel, and blacklist our fellow citizens are wrong, and they are dangerous. What is needed now is for us to listen to one another, not to silence one another. All of us can choose by our actions to rise above the rancor and find common ground and shared purpose. We must focus on advancing the interests of the whole nation, delivering the miracle vaccines, defeating the pandemic, rebuilding the economy, protecting our national security, and upholding the rule of law. Today, I am calling on all Americans to overcome the passions of the moment and join together as one American people. Let us choose to move forward united for the good of our families, our communities, and our country. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
You can stay on top of the latest developments in the second impeachment of President Trump with the ABC 10 News mobile app. It is free in the App Store. And the state of California has given the green light to start vaccinating anyone over the age of 65. But the county just said it's not ready. It still has to finish with people in Phase 1A. ABC 10 News reporter Laura Acevedo is joining us now live. Laura, the supply not ready yet?
Kimberly, that's exactly what the county said. They said the reality right now is that they just don't have enough vaccines for everyone in Tier 1A. And until they do so, they say that they don't plan on moving into the category that is 65 and over. Now, county officials explained that health providers can move on to that 65 and over category if they do have enough vaccines. But for now, the county SUPERSTATIon will continue with only Tier 1A. That includes healthcare workers and assisted living facilities. The total number of vaccines that have arrived in the county are just over 200,000. But the number of San Diegans in Tier 1A are 620,000, and each person needs 2 doses. San Diego has roughly 500,000 people in the 65 and over category. Dr. Wilma Wooten and Supervisor Fletcher say they are not aware of any county that's made it through all Tier 1A vaccinations.
And I think it is important context that we put in that we need people to be exceedingly patient, not because people aren't doing everything they can to get the vaccines out, but because the vaccines have simply not arrived in significant quantities to be able to administer to those.
Supervisor Nathan Fletcher says the county is expecting more vaccines soon. They are allocated by the California Department of Public Health, but they don't know how many will arrive or when. Reporting live, Laura Acevedo, ABC 10 News.
Thank you, Laura. And the county is desperately in need of volunteers to administer the vaccine. Without volunteers, it warns it won't be able to meet the goal of getting 5,000 people vaccinated per day. ABC 10 News reporter Jennifer De La Cruz is breaking down the strain on our health system.
If you have a background in healthcare, the county needs your help. They've launched a campaign looking for people like doctors and nurses to help administer COVID-19 vaccines. San Diego's vaccination SUPERSTATION opened this week at Petco Park. But with many health professionals already working overtime at hospitals, there's not enough people to give out vaccines to the 500,000 healthcare workers in Phase 1A.
We all have unique challenges. For us, the county, the size of the state of Connecticut.
Volunteers would be joining the San Diego County Medical Reserve Corps. Applicants must be licensed in California, actively working, or recently retired from healthcare.
We also have an expanded scope of practice for dentists to give vaccinations, for paramedics, pharmacists and pharmacy technicians and so forth.
If you're approved, you'll receive special training from the county.
We do all of the license verification, the background and everything, so we assure that whoever is providing and administering vaccinations is absolutely qualified.
According to Bloomberg.com, California has received more than 3.2 million vaccines, but only 800,000 doses have been administered. That's less than 25%. The county hopes to reach their goal of vaccinating 5,000 people per day at the SUPERSTATION by January 15th. Jennifer De La Cruz, ABC 10 News.